It's that time of the year. The holiday decorations are up, and it's time, as per tradition, to do the best 10 of the past year. Best 10 hobby-related products or inspirational finds that I've personally experienced this past year that I want to share with you. Makeup sponges. These sort of egg-shaped makeup sponges, they come in different sizes, different shapes. Some are pointy, some are a bit round. They're fabulous. You can check it out in my just recently released video where I use these kind of sponges to get really smooth paint jobs, either instead of a dry brush or a zenithal prime when you start painting a miniature, or just to paint on large surfaces and get really smooth results. It's kind of like dry brushing, only you don't get that sort of chalky feel, you know? I can't recommend them enough. I'm still finding new ways to use them. They're really cheap. The way to use them is basic and simple. And I think especially if you paint with your kids and stuff like that, like paint miniatures with your kids, and you want to find different ways for them to maybe get the paint on the miniature that doesn't require the sort of very detailed brush control, start maybe trying makeup sponges, at least for some of the parts of the miniature, or at least to get started. Number 10, makeup sponges. Check out my linked video, and there's a description in there of how to use them. This year's best starter set is, according to me, this little box, which is the Infinity Essentials starter set. You get everything you need to play a game of Infinity for about 45-ish euros or dollars, you know, that kind of area. You get 6 miniatures, 3 for each faction. There's this sort of cardboard terrain. I don't even think this is all of it. There's a playing mat, there's dice, there's rulers. There's a very simplified little rules booklet, but the full rules are free to download as a PDF. Cards with stats, that whole thing. And I just think it's real nice if you just want to try a new game that you can just grab a box that definitely is cheap, you know, in the world of miniatures, and you can give it a whirl. So maybe give Infinity a try. Number 8, this year's best book. I know, it's not a hobby product, but, you know, I'm a firm believer that we get inspiration from a lot more things in our hobby, from hobby adjacent things. And for me, one of those great inspirations is reading books. You know, a lot of us are also kind of a bit nerdy. You know, we like sci-fi and we like fantasy, and it doesn't just stop at the miniatures. We just enjoy the entire universe provided. And this is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Now, I'm a bit of a fanboy, honestly. Thank you for existing, Joe. But if you haven't read any of Joel's books, I can pretty much recommend them all. But this is his latest book. It's a new installment, and it's called The Devils. And it's such a fun setting. Sort of imagine there is a holy sort of Rome, a holy Roman Empire, which is ruled by the Pope. And it's very religious, only it's not Christianity. It's sort of different. And there's a bit more sort of magic and weird things happen. And there's a crusade against evil, pretty much, in Jerusalem. But it's not, you know, it's not against another religion. It's like another sort of, well, I'll say it, it's elves. And the Pope puts together a band of specialized characters, kind of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something like that, only this is like the very clandestine, the very, you know, fantasy, ironic, sort of grim, dark version of it. And they go out on adventures. And I'm not going to say any more because you should read the book. I can read the back, actually. Plague and famine stalks the land. Monsters lurk in every shadow, and greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions. Sometimes only the darkest paths leads towards the light, paths on which the righteous will not dare tread. Very exciting, isn't it? And so buried beneath the sacred splendor of the celestial palace is the secret chapel of holy expediency. For its congregation of convicted monsters, there's no sins that have not been committed, no lines that will not be crossed, and no mission that cannot be turned into a disastrous bloodbath. Sounds like fun. Now the hapless brother Diaz must somehow bind the worst of the worst to a higher cause, to put a thief on the throne of Troy and unite the sundered church against the coming apocalypse. Marvelous. Now, I just think Joe is great at sort of building characters. You can read like a one-page conversation and already in your mind you have an idea of what type of person this is, and he's done a great job. It's a bit different if you've read some of his other books, which would be with 9 fingers and that. They're called like The Blade itself or something. Previous series, not connected. They're sort of a bit longer, a bit more sort of classical fantasy where things are sort of explained a bit more in detail, still high-paced, but this is a lot more high-paced. It's almost the feeling of, was this written to be a movie script kind of a vibe. But I loved it, and it was the best read that I've had this past year. Enamel Streaking Grime. Hear me out, okay? This has been around for ages. It's been used for ages, only I haven't been using it for ages. I actually got this bottle this year. And I have to say that for some reason, Streaking Grime is the perfect paint. If you ever want to do things that look dirty, if you want to do streaks on your tank, you want to do streaks on your ruined building, you want to do streaks on your bunker, you want to do dirt on your bunker, you want to do dirt on your miniatures, anything grimy. And this is like a one-stop solution. There's something about the color of this paint. It's sort of that, the color smells like diesel, essentially. It's a bit green. It's brown with a bit of green. And I've just found that whatever I put it on, whatever I painted, whatever color it is, you can see the grime because of the color of the grime. And if you want to see me use it a lot, you can check out my video on building my big 6x4 foot gaming table. And this shows up a lot. But if you want to do grimdark, or if you just want a bit of dirt on the boots on your regular miniatures, or just get some character going on your terrain, and I know it's an enamel paint, and if you're not used to the sort of enamel workflow, it feels a bit scary, there's solvents involved, just read up a bit about it, check some videos about it, and I'm sure the reward will be worth the sacrifice. Is it number 6? I hope I haven't messed this up. I didn't take notes. Anyway, best miniature of 2025. It's going to be a bit selfish, but that's not the point. But it's the miniatures that I've kit bashed myself. I've done a lot of kit bashes this year. This is not all of them. Over here are some of my sort of weird World War I miniatures. Inspired by things like Trench Crusade, stuff like that. I've actually done them for a game called A War Transformed, but it's, World War I turned very weird and medievalish and, whatever. Over here are some of my Napoleonic orcs. I've done quite a few videos on those this past year, so you can just, if you're curious, you can check that out. But the point is that I just adore kit bashing and making my own miniatures. This is from different kits. This is from historical kits. This is from fantasy kits, things from Wargames Atlantic or North Star miniatures, all of this kind of stuff. And you create something that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, and you can really put your own sort of vision into something, and just putting little bits together, making little fun things. I think it's just so enjoyable. So what I mean to say is not that It's not actually these models that are the best models of 2025, but kit bashing is where 2025's best models were created, regardless of who made them. And for next year, if you don't do kit bashing, please just give it a try. Number 5 is this year's best paint. Well, not really. It's the paint that I've been using the most this past year. It doesn't actually mean it's good or suit you, but I just wanted to share what's sort of always been on my desk, reoccurringly getting back into whatever I'm painting. First off is a primer, actually. It's a bit boring, but it's AK Interactive's Black Airbrush Primer. I pretty much airbrush prime most of my miniatures, and this does not clog up the airbrush. It flows out great. It doesn't, it covers with just one pass. It doesn't mess up, smudge up any details, anything like that. It's been just working out great for me. AK Interactive's Black Airbrush Primer. I've then got ochre paints. These are in fact from P3 by Steamforged Games, but that's not really why I'm showing you this. It's not these actual paints, it's these colors, which is ochre colors. And I've never really, why, if you're standing there in your gaming store and you're picking out, I want a few new paints. Maybe you're like me, you always kind of accidentally end up at a game store and then you accidentally kind of need to buy something, and either it's super glue or it's paints or, it's a few dice, just some small symbolic things to keep your local friendly game store running. I don't think I would ever pick these colors, I'd go for like, ooh, that red really looks like red, and wow, that blue, ooh. Ochre? This is a mossy ochre. This is like they kind of look like rust. There's this yellow ochre, which is probably something I've used in pretty much every paint job, almost, for different reasons, since I got it. There's another sort of brownish. They're really boring, but I've been using them constantly. And so maybe get yourself some ochre colors and you'll find that they're kind of handy for reasons I can't explain. There's a paint missing here because I can't find it, which is a bit embarrassing. You'll have to imagine, we'll have to have some kind of magic happening, and that's ice yellow or icy yellow. Pretty much every paint brand makes ice yellow. Vallejo makes one. I got one from P3. There's, plenty more. And that definitely has been part of this category. I use ice yellow pretty much daily, if I paint daily. I use it to mix into other paints to create a highlight. And a ice yellow is sort of a very, very bright yellow, but I think it kind of looks like it also contains a little bit of fluorescent yellow in it. Because when I've got it like standing around and there's just like daylight coming through, it kind of looks like it glows a little bit when there's ice yellow happening. And if I mix it in, if I have a blue, I painted something blue, I want to highlight that blue, I put in a bit of that ice yellow and make a highlight paint. And not only do I get a brighter, sort of warmer thing, it's got that just essence of glow in it. Now, I know everyone pretty much already uses this paint for that purpose. I just haven't. I got the first one this past year. So if you don't have it, I'd recommend just getting one. It's a great paint to have as a sort of thing in your arsenal that you can use for just so many things. Now, when I said about the kit bashes that was the best miniatures, and some of you thought, well, sure, but I don't like kit bashing. Now, please tell me something I can go buy because my pile of grey shame is not big enough. This past year, Warlord Games released Conflict 47, and I don't know. Personally, for me, there's so many miniatures in that game that I think just look fun. Now, the setting reminds a lot about, World War II, but it's sort of set in the future. but it's still kind of like World War II, but in the future, kind of a thing. That's the vibe. And I don't have any. Well, I have this, which is a German, but I'm actually a really big fan of the British. They've got these automated infantry that, I don't know, it's simple models, but I just think they look like fun. And also the Japanese army is stunning. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to purchase some models, or if you just want to look at a new game, maybe check out Conflict 47. Number 3, this past year's best hobby tip is really boring. Clean your brushes. And I don't mean like it's been 6 months, my brush looks ruined, maybe I should clean it and try and restore it. No, I like clean them all the time, every session. I've been doing an experiment with these brushes for the past 3 or 4 months, which is essentially, it's like cleaning brushes is my new religion. Even during a painting session, you can paint, you can be in your zone, and if you actually look at the brush, you can see there's some dry paint in there, even if you've, been rinsing it out with water. I've been seeing that. And then I've been using this Vallejo brush cleaner, even mid-session. Just clean the brush, keep painting. Oops, I'll clean it a bit more, keep painting. And then by the end of the session, I've been using this the Master's Brush Cleaner and Preserver. And my brushes look great, better than they ever have. The tip is still perfect, kind of, 3 or 4 months later on. And I've realized that I'm saving myself a lot of money. I don't really have to buy that many new brushes. And previously, I've been like, I use a brush. Ooh, it's looking really dirty. I clean it. Can't really get the tip back in order. Maybe just go buy a new brush. Doesn't really seem to be a need for that when you clean your brush. If you want to join my new religion, please do. Number 2, this past year's best art inspiration has for me been this artist called Kai Nielsen. Most of this work is from like the beginning of the last century. And this book in particular is sort of fairy tales, Norse, sort of Scandinavian fairy tales. So you actually get the fairy tale and illustrations made by Kai Nielsen. It's from Taschen books. It wasn't super expensive. But the art is just spectacular in that great fantasy way. I've been hugely inspired by colors, and not only, sometimes for me, it's about taking things out of context. You can watch a painting and there's a lot of sort of things to digest when you just look at it as the piece of art that it is. But analyzing it a little bit, and I think this has been like one of the best sort of grim dark inspirations. If one looks at how color is sort of used, it's just so grimdark. Like even if what's been painted isn't grimdark, just the vibe of it is to me very grimdark. It's also kind of theatrical, as in this would be sketches to make the set for a theatre play. They're also simple. There's not tons of things happening. And each of these characters, it feels like I can see how this would work on a miniature, because it's very sort of kind of two-dimensional, like a sketch of like paint like this. There's also great ideas for dioramas, as in how things are proportioned, and there's a lot of like golden angles and stuff happening. So all in all, there's multiple levels of inspiration, at least has been for me, where I can see how this could translate so well into the miniature painting hobby. Check him out. Earlier this year in spring, I was doing some pro bono work in the Ukraine. And on my free time, the little free time that I had, I visited fellow hobbyists, wargamers, miniature painters in Lviv in the Ukraine. I filmed this. If you want to check the video out, it's based on interviews with a couple of people that I met. Now, you know, regardless, or well, we can't really disregard the situation in Ukraine, but I was so taken by how important the hobby, the miniature hobby, was for these people on so many levels, how strong the communities were, like how important it was to have a hobby even in a situation like the people of Ukraine are in. They're still holding hard onto their hobby to keep it going and to have that, you know, sort of stress relief of playing a game or painting a miniature. And it was very, very inspirational. And so, you know, number one is going to be just the reaffirmation of the fact that I realized how important it is to have a hobby. It's not just about buying the right paint or the right miniature or, you know, all these things that we kind of hang up on while we're in our hobby, but just having a hobby, just sitting down to paint, you know, not what you're painting, not what you're using, not what kind of, you know, what's wrong with my brush, none of that. The fact that you're sitting down painting a miniature, or the community around us is a wonderful community. And so I just kind of want to celebrate that. I also want to thank the people that I met in the Ukraine for, you know, talking to me and sharing their experience. But if you're in this hobby, just, you know, you're in a great hobby, and take care of your communities and take care of yourself. And yeah, we got a good thing happening here, and we should take care of it. That's it. Happy holidays. It's been a great year. It's also been a terribly confusing year. YouTube has been very alternative this past year. It's been a lot of downs more than ups, but hopefully next year's downs won't be worse. Can always hope. I'm just glad to be here, doing my hobby and being able to share it with you. Thank you so much for watching all my videos, or the videos you have been watching this past year. It means so much to me. Thank you for all the lovely comments. Thank you so much to my patrons. You know, you're really keeping me swimming and not drowning, floating, not dead on the bottom of the sea, which I think is, you know, one more year without dying. That sounded terrible. Happy holidays, everyone, and I'll see you next year. You just wait.